Hey guys, Mike Samrah here, and I'm here with our Mortgage Minute with Joe Ferraro, our go-to mortgage guy. Joe, why do we need to get pre-approved?
Why do you need to get pre-approved? Well, how do you know what you can afford, right? There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I call it the boomers or the or the earlier Gen X's that, oh, I make six figures, I can afford anything. Well, and unfortunately, you can't. In order to buy a property, or whether it's a first-time home buyer, whether you're buying and selling, whether it's an investment property, there are regulations that we have to follow. So in order to get pre-approved, you go through the documentation checklist, you go through the income, you go through where the down payment is coming from. That way, you know exactly what you can actually afford. See, the running joke I have with guys like Michael Samrah is people will contact their realtor and say, hey, I want to go buy a $1.5 million home, or I want to go buy a $2 million home, or, I'm on the outskirts, I want to buy something for 750,000. Based on what though? You have to get pre-approved. We have to look at your income. So there's a minimum, there's four different pieces of documentation that are required for that. Where is your down payment coming from? Is it coming from bank statements? Is it coming from your RSPs? Where is it coming from, right? And then the property itself, like you want to make sure the property is one that a bank lender will lend on. So that all gets done through guys like myself or girls like myself, through the pre-approval route. That way we can take a look at a file, because a bank, Michael, is going to go, you know this, is going to go through that file with a fine-tooth comb. It's almost like they're going to try and pick something wrong with the file just because you make six figures. And I've done deals for doctors and dentists that make high six figures that can't afford a $600,000 property. Wow. Because they've outstretched themselves, right? So the underwriting required for a pre-approval will let a bank lender know, hey, within these ratios that the government allows, you can fit buying this property. You can include a mortgage payment in your current liabilities or whatever debts you may have with a credit card, a loan, a home equity line of credit, or a line of credit. So getting pre-approved allows you to know, hey, you know what? I can go shopping for this amount here. I generally give people their maximum purchase price based on their income and down payment. That way they can confidently go out with somebody like Michael and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we can get that $1.2 million property. Let's start shopping right now.
Amazing. And what few documents do they need, Joe? And is it pretty easy to get pre-approved?
For me, it's easy to get pre-approved because I'll give you a number as soon as I get all documents, right? We have a running joke in the mortgage industry: no docs, no talks, right? People would reach out to me all the time saying, I make 110,000. I've got no debt. My credit score is fantastic. What can I afford? I don't know. I don't know what your credit score is like. You're telling me your credit score is good. I've had people tell me they've had wonderful credit scores, and I pull it, and they're in the low 600s. And that right there is going to be a bit of a flag for a lender. So the documents required, it all depends. Are you self-employed or are you salaried? Are you hourly? Are you sales commission? There's different ways of looking at a file, and each bank has their own little minute ways of looking at it. But on a surface level, there's four pieces of documents I have people prepare right away, depending on the type of job that they have. If it's a standard salary, I need 2 years T4s. Okay, so the T4s that your employer gives you at the end of every year to say you made this much amount of money in 2020 and this much amount of money in 2021. And every year it moves down 1 year. Okay, we remove the last year, we include the new year. So your T4s will show us what you made on average over the past 2 years. That's followed by your notice of assessment. That shows the bank that you paid your taxes, okay, you filed your taxes, and you declare the same amount of money as what's on your T4s pretty much. Okay, so if all of a sudden your T4s say you make $87,000 on average, Michael, but you declare 57,000, wait a second, or your T4s show 85,000 as an average, but you declared 117,000, where's the extra coming from, right? That's where I dig deeper and say, hey, do you have a rental property, or do you have investments that came in, or did you cash out on something, right? So those are the T4s and the NOAs. Those are the CRA documents. Now we look at your employer. We need your two most recent pay stubs. That way we know you're getting paid. That way we know you're still employed. That way I can calculate the average of those two pay stubs and then multiply it by 26 times for the year to get your annual income. So if I get your pay stubs and they match your T4 amount or close to your T4 amount, there's 3 check marks. NOAs are done, T4s are done, pay stubs are done. Now the bank will call your employer. So we need a letter of employment. Letter of employment that stipulates, on company letterhead, who you are, how long you've been there, what you do, and how much money you make. Now, if the letter of employment says you make $57,000 a year, but you're declaring $85,000, well, what's going on here? Are you sales commission, right? Or they say you make 97,000, but you declare 85,000. What's going on here? Did you take time off? COVID? Was it pandemic related? Right. So those are the four main things that we go through from an income perspective. Bank statements, Michael. 3 months bank statements. We have to make sure that the money is in the bank account, and then we go through the bank statements, not with a fine-tooth comb, but close enough to say, oh, there's a deposit for pay. There's a deposit for pay. There's a withdrawal to pay up credit card. There's a deposit. There's a $67,000 deposit here. Where did this come from? You don't make $67,000. Where did this come from? We're not working with the Mexican cartels, right? We're good, right? So we have to do our due diligence. And if that $67,000 deposit's there, Michael, now I need 3 months from that bank following the paper trail so we can complete the circle. So that's pretty much the basics. So when people think, oh, I don't need to get pre-approved, you need to get pre-approved. There's a lot of documents.
You need to give your T4s, NOAs, your job letter, and your pay stubs. And once you have those, you contact Joe, you get a pre-approval, and then you come with me and we go look at homes, right?
100%. That's the best way of doing it. Never go to your realtor before talking to your mortgage broker. You should go to your realtor armed. And that way your realtor, see that smile on Michael's face, ladies and gentlemen? That's what you want to do when you go see Michael. You said, hey, I talked to Joe. I talked to the mortgage broker. He said we're good to make a purchase for 1.25. Michael's on the hunt. Go.
Beautiful. Thanks, Joe. We'll talk to you next week. I appreciate it. This is your Mortgage Minute with myself, Mike Samrah here, and Joe Ferraro. You can reach Joe. All the information will be below. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.